I'm sorry. The interview slot is already closed. Those were the first words that shattered my morning. I stood there, frozen in front of the reception desk, still trying to catch my breath from running across the lobby. "You're late," the receptionist added without even looking at me. Late. One simple word. One word that erased the only chance I had to change my life. I opened my mouth but no sound came out. My fingers tightened around the thin folder holding my resume. I had an interview at 9, I finally said. The receptionist checked the screen again. Yes. 9 o'clock. It's only 9:10. The hiring manager already moved to the next candidate. Her voice was calm, cold. Like this moment meant absolutely nothing. But for me, it meant everything. 30 minutes earlier, I had been standing outside the tallest office building I had ever seen. My hands were shaking so badly I had to press them against my coat. "Don't mess this up," I whispered to myself. This job wasn't just a job. It was escape. Escape from my uncle's house. Escape from the constant reminders that I was a burden. My uncle loved repeating the same sentence every morning. "You eat my food. You sleep in my house. At least try to be useful." I swallowed hard and stepped toward the glass entrance doors. Just a few more steps. Just one interview. Just one chance. Then I saw her. A woman in a wheelchair. She was stuck outside the door. The heavy glass door was half open, but not enough for her to push through. Her hands tried again and again to move the chair forward. No one stopped. People walked past her like she was invisible. A man in a suit brushed past. Two women laughed while scrolling their phones. Someone even bumped the wheelchair slightly and kept walking. The woman sighed quietly. Something inside my chest twisted. I looked at the building, then back at her. My phone buzzed. 8:56 a.m. 4 minutes. 4 minutes until my interview. I took one step toward the door, then stopped. My uncle's voice echoed inside my head. "Kind people stay poor." I clenched my jaw. Then I turned around. "Excuse me," I said softly. The woman looked up at me. "Yes. Let me help." I grabbed the heavy door and pulled it fully open. The wheelchair rolled forward. "Thank you," she said gently. "No problem." I kept the door open until she was fully inside the lobby. But the problem wasn't over. The marble floor had a slight incline leading toward the elevators. Her chair slowed, then stopped. She tried pushing the wheels again. The chair barely moved. I glanced at my phone again. 8:58 a.m. 2 minutes. 2 minutes between me and my future. I exhaled slowly. "May I?" I asked. She looked at me with mild surprise. "You're going to be late." "It's okay." It wasn't okay. But I couldn't walk away. I stepped behind the chair and pushed gently. The wheels moved smoothly across the polished floor. "Which elevator?" I asked. "Central." I guided the chair across the massive lobby. The building was beautiful. Glass walls. Polished marble. Quiet conversations everywhere. But all I could hear was the ticking clock inside my head. 8:59 a.m. The elevator doors opened. I pushed the chair inside. "Which floor?" 5. My interview was on 12. The doors closed. The elevator started moving. I tried to hide my anxiety, but my fingers kept tapping the folder. The woman noticed. "You have somewhere to be." "Interview," I admitted. "What time?" 9. She looked at the elevator panel, then at my phone. It changed to 9 o'clock. "You should have left me," she said calmly. I shook my head immediately. I couldn't. "Why?" The question surprised me. I shrugged slightly. "Because you needed help." The elevator stopped at the 5th floor. The doors opened. I pushed the chair out. "Thank you," she said again. "You're welcome." I turned quickly and rushed back into the elevator. 12th floor, I told the closing doors. The elevator climbed slowly. Too slowly. 9:04. 9:05. My heart started racing. "Come on." The elevator finally reached the 12th floor. The doors opened. I ran. Past glass offices. Past confused employees. Past a long hallway. Finally, I saw the reception desk. A woman sat behind it typing calmly. I tried to steady my breathing. "Hi," I said. "Interview candidate. 9 o'clock. Marketing assistant." She glanced at the screen, then at the clock, then back at me. "You're late." "I'm only a few minutes late," I said quickly. The hiring manager already started the next interview. Could I still? No. The answer was immediate. Flat. No. "The schedule is full today." I gripped the folder tighter. "I really need this job." She sighed slightly. Everyone here needs a job. My chest tightened. I came early, I said quietly. She didn't respond. I just helped someone downstairs. Still silence. I forced a small smile. Could you maybe ask the hiring manager if... No. The word cut through the air again. The receptionist leaned back slightly. You should try again next year. Next year. My stomach dropped. I stood there for a long moment. My feet refused to move. Finally, I nodded slowly. Okay. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. I turned around and walked back down the hallway. Past the offices. Past the glass doors. Back to the elevator. The ride down felt longer than the ride up. When the doors opened to the lobby, the building looked different. Colder. Louder. People still rushed around with important faces. But I felt invisible again. I walked outside. The morning air hit my face. I sat down on the bench near the entrance. My hands finally stopped shaking. But my chest felt heavy. So heavy. I stared at the folder in my lap. Months of preparation. Weeks of hope. Gone in 10 minutes. My phone buzzed again. A message from my uncle. Did you get the job? I stared at the screen. My throat burned. Slowly I typed back. No. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then another message. I told you. You're useless. I closed my eyes. For a moment I thought I might cry. But the tears never came. Instead I just sat there. Quiet. Empty. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. Losing something important hurts, doesn't it? I turned slowly. The woman from the wheelchair was looking at me. And she was smiling. I told you. You're useless. The message stayed on my phone screen like a stain I couldn't wipe away. I read it again. Then again. My uncle never needed many words to break me. I locked my phone and pressed it against my chest, trying to breathe normally. People walked past the bench outside the building. Busy. Important. Successful. And there I was. A girl who just lost the most important interview of her life because she stopped to help someone. My uncle's voice echoed inside my head again. Kind people stay poor. I swallowed hard. Maybe he was right. Maybe the world really punished people like me. My fingers tightened around the folder on my lap. The edges of my resume were already bending. Months of preparation. Practice interviews. Late nights studying marketing basics. All of it ended with one sentence. You're late. I stared at the glass doors of the building. Part of me wanted to walk back in and beg. Just once. Just 5 minutes. But I knew how those conversations ended. With security politely guiding me outside. I exhaled slowly. Losing something important hurts, doesn't it? The voice came from behind me. Calm. Gentle. Familiar. My shoulders stiffened. I turned slowly. The woman in the wheelchair was a few feet away from my bench. Her hands rested lightly on the wheels. And she was watching me. Not with pity. With curiosity. I straightened my back quickly. I'm fine, I said. The lie came out automatically. She raised one eyebrow. Are you? I said I'm fine. The words sounded sharper than I intended. A small silence stretched between us. Then she rolled closer. You helped me earlier, she said softly. I remember. I looked away toward the street. I didn't expect to see you again. I didn't expect to see you sitting out here. Another quiet pause. Then she spoke again. You missed your interview. It wasn't a question. My chest tightened. Yes. Because of me. I shook my head quickly. No. You arrived late. That's not your fault. But it happened while you were helping me. Her voice stayed calm. Too calm. I finally looked at her. It still wasn't your fault. Then whose fault was it? The question hung in the air. My uncle's voice answered inside my head. Yours. I forced a small shrug. Mine, I guess. Why? Because I stopped. You regret it? The question hit harder than I expected. I opened my mouth, closed it, then looked at my hands. I don't know. She studied me quietly. You hesitated, she said. About what? About helping me. I blinked. I saw it in your eyes, she continued. You were calculating something. My cheeks warmed slightly. I had an interview in 4 minutes. And yet you came back. Yes. Why? I let out a small laugh. Not a happy one. Because I couldn't just walk past you. Many people did. I noticed. Why are you different? I leaned back against the bench. I'm not different. You are. No, I said quietly. I'm just stupid. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Stupid. My uncle says kindness is for people who can afford it. And you can't. I looked down at my worn shoes. No. Another silence. Then she asked gently, "Why did you still help me?" I stared at the ground for a long moment, then answered honestly, "Because leaving you there would have felt worse than losing the job." The moment the words left my mouth, I felt something strange. Relief. Like a truth I had been holding inside finally escaped. The woman didn't respond immediately. Instead, she studied my face carefully, almost like she was searching for something. Finally she said, "You lost something valuable today." "Yes. And yet you still helped someone else." "That wasn't heroic," I said quickly. "What was it?" "Bad timing." She smiled faintly. "Bad timing is often the beginning of interesting stories." I shook my head. "I doubt that." "Why?" "Because my story isn't interesting." "Everyone's story is interesting," she replied. "Not mine." "And why is that?" "Because it always ends the same way." "And how does it end?" "With someone telling me I'm not good enough." The words slipped out before I could stop them. My chest tightened immediately. I didn't usually say things like that out loud. The woman didn't interrupt. She just listened, carefully. Then she asked, "What's your name?" The question surprised me. "Isla." "Isla?" she repeated slowly. "Your turn." "My turn." "Your name." She smiled slightly. "Names are interesting things." "How?" "They change how people see you." I frowned. "That sounds mysterious." "It is." "So you're not going to tell me?" "Not yet." I stared at her for a moment. "You're very strange." "Am I?" "Yes. Most people say powerful." I almost laughed, but something about the way she said it stopped me. There was no arrogance in her voice, just quiet confidence. "Why were you at the building today?" I asked. "Business." "You work there?" "In a way." That answer created more questions than it solved. "You talk like a boss," I said. "Do I?" "Yes." Another faint smile. Then she glanced toward the building entrance. People continued walking in and out. Busy. Unaware. "You know," she said slowly, "doors are interesting things." "What do you mean?" "People think one closed door means the end. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't." I tilted my head slightly. "What does that mean?" She looked directly into my eyes, and for the first time I saw something sharp there. Something calculating. "Sometimes losing one door means another one opens." The sentence landed softly, but it felt heavy. I frowned slightly. "That sounds like something people say to make failure feel better." "Maybe. Or something rich people say to poor people." Her smile widened just a little. "Possibly." I sighed. "Well, right now all my doors feel closed." "Are you sure?" "Yes." She rolled her wheelchair back slightly, then stopped. "Isla." "Yes." "I'm glad you helped me." "I'm glad I could." "And I'm glad you lost your interview." That sentence hit me like a slap. "What?" "I'm glad you lost it." My eyes widened. "That's a terrible thing to say." "Is it?" "Yes." "You might understand later." "I doubt it." Another pause. Then she nodded once. "We'll see." She turned the wheelchair slowly toward the street. "Wait," I said. She stopped. "You never told me your name." She looked back at me. For a moment she seemed to consider the question. Then she said calmly, "You'll learn it soon enough." Before I could ask another question, she rolled away. I watched her disappear down the sidewalk. Confusion twisted inside my chest. What just happened? I sat there for another minute, then 2, then 5. Finally, my phone buzzed again. Another message from my uncle. "Come home. We need to talk about rent." I stared at the words. My chest tightened. Then I looked back at the massive building behind me. The door that had just closed on my future. Or maybe, just maybe, the door that was about to open something else. "I think you should come back to the building." I read the message 3 times before believing it was real. The number was unfamiliar. No name. No explanation. Just one sentence. And a location. The same building that rejected me yesterday. My first reaction was simple. This must be a mistake. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the screen. My uncle's apartment smelled like burnt cooking oil and cheap detergent. The walls felt smaller every morning. Another message appeared. Lobby. 10 a.m. That was it. No greeting. No signature. Just instructions. I almost laughed. Yesterday I begged for 5 minutes of their time. Today someone expected me to return like nothing happened. My uncle walked past the doorway. "You're still here?" he said. "I'm leaving." "For what?" I hesitated. I think someone from the company contacted me. He stopped walking, then slowly turned around. That fancy building? Yes. What did they say? They asked me to come back. His eyes narrowed. That doesn't make sense. I know. Maybe they forgot something. Maybe. He leaned against the wall, studying me. Or maybe they want to tell you officially that you failed. The words hit harder than I expected. My fingers tightened around my phone. I'll find out. He snorted quietly. Don't get excited. Rich companies don't change their minds. I didn't answer, because part of me knew he might be right. At 9:50 a.m. I stood outside the same glass doors again. My heart beat faster than yesterday. Not with hope. With confusion. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The lobby looked exactly the same. Marble floors. Tall ceilings. People moving quickly with important faces. No one noticed me. Just another girl standing there with a cheap folder. I walked toward the reception desk. The same woman sat there typing. She looked up briefly. Recognition flashed across her face. You again? Yes. I told you yesterday. I received a message asking me to come back. She frowned. From who? I don't know. She turned toward her computer screen. Name? Isla. Her fingers moved across the keyboard. Then she stopped. Her expression changed slightly. Oh. You're expected. My stomach tightened. Expected. She nodded slowly. Someone is waiting for you. Who? Before she could answer, a voice came from behind me. Me. I turned. A man stood near one of the marble pillars. Tall, sharp suit, calm posture. His arms were crossed as he leaned casually against the wall. But his eyes were focused directly on me. Watching. Studying. Like he had been observing me for a long time. He walked toward us slowly. Each step confident. Controlled. The receptionist immediately straightened. Good morning, sir. He nodded slightly without looking at her. Then his attention returned to me. You're Isla. It wasn't a question. Yes. I'm glad you came. I almost didn't. His lips curved slightly. I expected that. He stopped a few feet away. Up close he looked even more intimidating. Not because he seemed angry. Because he seemed calm. Too calm. My name is Armin Rahman, he said. The name sounded important. But I didn't recognize it. Nice to meet you, I said carefully. I'm the operations director here. My brain paused. Operations director? That sounded very high. My fingers tightened around the folder again. You wanted to see me? Yes. Why? Because of yesterday. My chest tightened. I already know I lost the interview. Yes. So why am I here? He studied my face for a moment. Then spoke slowly. I watched the security footage. The sentence confused me. Security footage? Yes. Of what? Of you. A strange feeling crept up my spine. You mean, helping the woman in the wheelchair? Yes. You watched that. The entire lobby has cameras. I didn't know that. Most people don't. Silence stretched between us. Then I asked the question sitting in my chest. Does that mean the company reconsidered my application? He didn't answer immediately. That pause told me everything. I'm sorry, he said finally. My stomach dropped. The position was filled yesterday afternoon. The words felt like a door closing again. Louder this time. Oh. That was all I managed to say. For a moment I just stood there. Then I nodded slowly. Okay. I turned toward the exit. But his voice stopped me. Isla. I paused. Yes. Why did you help her? I turned back slowly. What? The woman in the wheelchair. I frowned. I already told someone yesterday. I want to hear it from you. Why? Because I'm curious. That seems like a strange reason to call someone back. Humor me. I stared at him. Part of me wanted to walk away. Another part wanted answers. You saw the footage, I said. Yes. So you already know what happened. I know what you did, he replied. I don't know why. I exhaled slowly. She needed help. You were late. I know. You had 4 minutes. Yes. You still turned around. Yes. Why? The question sounded sharper this time. Like he genuinely couldn't understand. I crossed my arms. Do people here usually ignore someone in a wheelchair? That wasn't my question. Then what is your question? His eyes held mine steadily. Why did you choose her, instead of your future? The words hit deeper than I expected. For a moment I didn't answer, because the truth was complicated. Then I remembered something. My uncle's voice. Kind people stay poor. I looked back at Armin and said the simplest answer I had. Because leaving her alone felt worse than losing the job. Silence. Heavy silence. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just watched me. Like my answer created a problem he couldn't solve. Finally he asked quietly, "You really believe that?" "Yes." "Even now?" "Yes." "You don't regret it?" I thought about the rejection. The message from my uncle. The rent conversation waiting at home. Then I answered honestly. "I regret needing the job." Another pause. Then he said something strange. "You're an unusual candidate." "I'm not a candidate anymore." "That's true." "Then why are we still talking?" His gaze didn't shift. "Because someone asked me to find you." My heart skipped. "Who?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, then turned it toward me. The video began playing. It was the security footage from yesterday. The lobby camera angle. I saw myself, running toward the door, stopping, turning around, helping the wheelchair, pushing it toward the elevator. The video ended. Armin looked back at me. That moment changed something. In what way? Someone important watched it? My chest tightened. The woman? He nodded once. My mind raced. "She asked about you," he said. "Why?" "That's what I'm trying to understand." "And?" His eyes stayed locked on mine. "And I'm not finished asking questions." I frowned slightly. "What kind of questions?" His next sentence came slowly, carefully, like it mattered more than the others. "The kind that might change your life." My heart started beating faster again. And for the second time in 2 days, a door I thought was closed began to move. "I didn't call you back for a job." The voice on the phone was calm, elegant, and somehow familiar. I froze with the phone pressed against my ear. "Then why did you call me?" I asked slowly. A soft pause followed. "Because I want to see you again." My heart skipped. The voice continued. "Come to my home this evening." I sat up straighter on the edge of my bed. "You're home?" "Yes." "Why?" Another pause. Then the answer came quietly. "Because the conversation we started yesterday isn't finished." My mind raced. "Who is this?" I asked. A small laugh came through the phone. "You already know." And suddenly I did. The wheelchair. The calm smile. The strange sentence about doors. "You're the woman from the building?" I said. "Yes." My chest tightened. "Why would you want to meet me again?" "Because I'm curious about you." "That sounds dangerous," I said. "Only if you're hiding something." "I'm not." "Good." Silence stretched between us. Then she said one more sentence. "Armin will send you the address." The call ended. Just like that. I stared at the phone for a long moment. Then another message appeared. A location. From Armin. No explanation. Just the address. I whispered to myself. What is happening? 2 hours later, I stood outside a gate that looked bigger than my entire street. Tall iron bars. Security cameras. A long driveway disappearing behind perfectly trimmed trees. My chest tightened. "This can't be right," I whispered. I checked the address again. It was correct. My phone buzzed. A message from Armin. "You're at the right place. The guard will open the gate." Before I could respond, the gate slowly slid open. A security guard stepped forward. "You're Isla?" "Yes." "Please come in." I walked through the gate carefully. The driveway felt endless. At the end stood a massive house. No, not a house. Something closer to a palace. White stone walls. Huge windows. A fountain in the middle of the courtyard. I stopped walking for a moment. "This is insane," I whispered. A car passed quietly beside me. The driver rolled down the window. "Miss Isla?" "Yes." "Please get in. I'll take you to the entrance." I hesitated, then opened the door. The ride lasted less than a minute, but my mind raced the entire time. Why would someone like her invite someone like me here? The car stopped. A tall front door opened before I even reached it. A woman in a neat uniform smiled politely. "Welcome." "Thank you," I said quietly. "Please follow me." I stepped inside. Everything looked expensive. Marble floors, tall ceilings, paintings on the walls that looked older than my entire family history. My shoes suddenly felt too cheap to touch the floor. We moved through a long hallway, then into a large sitting room. And there she was, the woman in the wheelchair, waiting near the window. She looked exactly the same as yesterday. Calm, observant, in control. "Good evening, Isla," she said warmly. "Good evening. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure I should. And yet you did." "Yes." The woman who guided me here quietly left the room. Now it was just the two of us. I stepped closer. "Your house is beautiful." "Thank you. It's also enormous." She smiled. "I've been told that before." I shifted awkwardly. "I should probably apologize." "For what?" "For taking your time yesterday." "You didn't." "I caused trouble at the building." "You helped someone." "I also lost my interview." Her expression didn't change. "Yes. So technically I wasted both our time." She studied my face. Then something surprising happened. She laughed softly. "You think yesterday was a waste?" "A little." "I don't." I frowned slightly. "Why not?" She leaned back slightly in the wheelchair. "Because yesterday showed me something important." "What?" "You." My chest tightened. "I don't understand." "You will." She gestured toward the chair across from her. "Sit." I sat slowly, still unsure what this meeting meant. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said calmly, "You're wondering who I am." "Yes." "That's fair." Another small pause. Then she spoke the sentence that changed everything. "I founded the company you interviewed for." My brain stopped working. "What?" "I built it 30 years ago." My mouth went dry. "You're the founder? And the current chairwoman?" The room felt suddenly smaller. My heart pounded. "You're serious?" "Yes." I stood up without thinking. "I'm so sorry." She blinked. "For what?" "For everything yesterday. You helped me. But I didn't know who you were." "Why would that matter?" "Because I would have acted differently." Her eyes sharpened slightly. "How?" "I would have been more careful. More polite." "Yes. And that's exactly why I didn't tell you." I froze. "What?" "I wanted to see who you really were." My stomach tightened. "You tested me?" "I observed you." "That sounds like a test." She smiled faintly. "Maybe it was." I sat back down slowly. "Did I pass?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she picked up a small tablet from the table beside her, tapped the screen, then turned it toward me. Security footage filled the screen. The lobby. The glass doors. Me stopping. Turning around. Helping her. Waiting at the elevator. Pushing the wheelchair. The video ended. She placed the tablet down gently. I watched that moment 3 times. Why? Because it's rare. What is? Someone choosing kindness when it costs them something. I swallowed. That's not rare. It is in business. Another silence. Then she leaned slightly forward. Most people would have kept walking. I almost did. But you didn't. No. Why? I looked down at my hands. Because leaving you there would have felt wrong. That's exactly what Armin told me you said. My eyes lifted quickly. He told you? Yes. So this entire meeting is because of that moment? Yes. My chest felt tight again. I'm confused. Good. Good? Confused people ask honest questions. Then here's one. I'm listening. Why would someone like you care about someone like me? Her smile softened slightly. Then she said something that made my heart stop. Because I didn't lose a candidate yesterday. I frowned. You didn't? No. Then what did you lose? She shook her head gently. I didn't lose anything. Then what happened? Her eyes met mine. Sure. Certain. I found someone far more valuable. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Important. And completely confusing. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Valuable, how? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached for a small bell on the table and rang it once. A door opened. Footsteps approached. Then Armin walked into the room. My heart skipped again. The chairwoman looked at both of us calmly, and said the sentence that made my world shift again. Isla, she said gently, I want you to meet my son properly. I want you to meet my son properly. The sentence echoed in my head long after she said it. My eyes slowly moved toward the doorway. Armin stood there, still, silent, watching me. The same calm face from the office lobby. The same unreadable eyes. Except now the situation felt different. Because this wasn't a company building. This was his house. And his mother had just introduced him like something important was about to happen. I stood up automatically. Hello, again, I said quietly. Armin stepped into the room. Hello, Isla. His voice was calm, controlled. But something inside his expression looked tighter than before, almost cautious. The chairwoman gestured toward the dining room. Let's continue this conversation over dinner. Dinner. The word made my stomach twist. I hadn't expected food, or a family meeting, or whatever this moment was becoming. Still, I followed them. The dining room looked like something from a movie. A long wooden table, soft lights above, crystal glasses arranged perfectly. The kind of room where every small sound feels louder. Armin pulled out a chair across from his mother. I sat on the other side. A woman quietly served dinner and left without saying a word. Silence filled the table. Finally, the chairwoman spoke. Isla, tell me about your life. The question felt simple, but it wasn't. I hesitated. There's not much to tell. I disagree. Armin watched me quietly, waiting. I looked down at the table for a moment. Then I decided something. If I was already sitting in a house like this, there was no reason to pretend. My parents died when I was young, I said. The room stayed quiet. I moved in with my uncle after that. The chairwoman listened carefully, not interrupting. He's not a bad man, I continued slowly, but he reminds me every day that I'm living in his house. What does he say? She asked gently. I let out a small breath. He says kindness is expensive. Armin's eyes lifted slightly. And? He says poor people can't afford it. Another silence. I forced a small smile. Yesterday proved he might be right. The chairwoman tilted her head slightly. You regret helping me? No. Then what do you regret? I regret needing the job. Armin spoke for the first time since sitting down. You were confident in that interview? Yes. How confident? I spent 3 months preparing. For an assistant position. Yes. That's unusual. I don't get many chances. The chairwoman nodded slowly. That explains your determination. I needed the job. And now? I shrugged slightly. Now I need the next opportunity. Armin studied me. Even after yesterday? Yes. Why? Because I can't afford to stop trying. A quiet pause stretched across the table. Then the chairwoman asked another question. What would you do if you had real power? The question surprised me. I don't think about that. Try. I looked down at my glass, then answered honestly. I would stop making people beg for opportunities. Armin leaned slightly forward. What does that mean? It means talent shouldn't depend on luck. And kindness. What about it? Does it belong in business? I thought about the lobby. About the people who walked past the wheelchair. Then I answered. Yes. Armin raised an eyebrow. Even if it costs money? Yes. Even if it costs time? Yes. Even if it costs success? The question hit harder. But my answer stayed the same. Yes. The chairwoman smiled faintly. Interesting. I frowned slightly. Why? Because most executives don't say that. I'm not an executive. No. She leaned back slightly. You're something rarer. I didn't know what that meant. The dinner continued. But the question slowly changed. Less about my past. More about my thinking. My decisions. My values. Armin asked several sharp questions. Almost like he was testing something. Finally, I asked the question that had been bothering me since arriving. Why am I really here? Both of them looked at me. The chairwoman answered calmly. Because I wanted to see if the girl from the lobby was real. And? You are. I didn't know if that was good or bad. Armin spoke quietly. My mother doesn't usually invite interview candidates home. I'm not a candidate anymore. No. Another silence. Then the chairwoman said something unexpected. The job doesn't matter. I blinked. What? The position you applied for. Yes. It's irrelevant now. My chest tightened. So I really did lose it. Yes. She said it gently. But the truth still stung. Then why am I here? I asked again. Her eyes softened. Because the company position was never the real opportunity. I frowned. What does that mean? She placed her glass down carefully. Then spoke slowly. I built my company from nothing. I nodded. I know that now. And during those years I learned something important. What? Skills can be taught. That makes sense. But character cannot. The room grew quieter. She looked directly at me. Yesterday you showed me character. I just helped someone. No. Her voice sharpened slightly. You made a decision when it cost you something. Armin remained silent. watching, listening. And that decision told me more about you than any resume ever could, she continued. My hands tightened slightly under the table. I'm not sure where this conversation is going. She smiled gently. That's understandable. Then she said the sentence that stopped my breath. I want someone like you in my family. My brain froze. In your family? Yes. I glanced at Armin. He didn't react. His expression stayed controlled. But his eyes looked slightly darker now. You're serious? I asked. Very. I laughed nervously. I think you're overestimating me. I don't think so. I'm just someone who needed a job. You're someone who chose kindness under pressure. That doesn't make me family material. Actually, she said softly, it does. I looked at Armin again. He still hadn't spoken, which somehow made the situation feel even stranger. Why are you telling me this? I asked. The chairwoman leaned slightly forward, then said the sentence that shattered my understanding of the evening. I would like you to become my daughter-in-law one day. My hand jerked. The glass slipped. Water spilled across the table. I'm sorry. But I couldn't finish the sentence, because my mind was spinning. Did you just say, daughter-in-law? Yes. My eyes moved to Armin again. He finally spoke. Mother. Just one word. But it carried tension. She looked at him calmly. What? This is sudden. Life is sudden. Isla just met us. That's true. And you're already discussing marriage. She smiled slightly. I'm discussing possibility. My heart was pounding so loudly I could hear it. I think there's been a misunderstanding, I said quickly. The chairwoman turned back to me. There hasn't. But I barely know your son. That can change. And he barely knows me. That can also change. Armin leaned back in his chair, watching me carefully now, like my reaction mattered. I came here because I thought we were discussing a job, I said. We are discussing something more important. I'm not sure I'm qualified for that. The chairwoman's smile softened. That's exactly why you are. I stared at the table. My mind raced through every possible explanation. None of them made sense. Finally, I whispered the only honest question left in my head. Why me? The room fell silent. Then the chairwoman answered quietly. Because yesterday you proved something most people never do. What? She looked directly into my eyes. That your heart cannot be bought. The sentence hung in the air. Heavy. Unfinished. And for the first time since entering the house, I realized this dinner might change my entire life. You don't belong here. The sentence landed softly. But it cut deeper than shouting ever could. I slowly looked up from my tea. Sarah stood across the garden table, holding her glass like she owned the entire house. Which, in a way, she probably believed. Her eyes moved over me slowly. My simple dress. My worn shoes. My nervous posture. Then she smiled. Not kindly. Relax, she said lightly. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. My fingers tightened around the cup. I didn't ask what everyone was thinking. No, she replied. You didn't. She sat down across from me. The Rahman garden looked peaceful. White flowers. Soft wind. A small fountain nearby. But the tension between us made the air feel heavy. I've heard a lot about you, she continued. That's surprising. Why? I've only been here twice. Sarah laughed quietly. Oh, trust me. When someone like you appears in this family, people talk. Someone like me? Yes. She leaned slightly closer. A girl who loses an interview, and somehow gets invited into the family home. The words were gentle. But the message wasn't. I didn't invite myself, I said. I know. Her smile widened. That's what makes it interesting. A long pause stretched between us. Then she asked, do you understand what's happening here? Not really. I do. And? You're a curiosity. My stomach tightened. A curiosity? Yes. Like a science experiment. I looked down at the table. Because part of me already feared she might be right. Sarah watched my reaction carefully. Don't take it personally, she added. Too late. Well, it's still true. Before I could respond, another voice joined us. Sarah. Her smile vanished instantly. She turned. Armin stood near the garden entrance. His expression looked calm. But something in his tone had been sharp. Yes, she replied sweetly. You're being rude. I'm being honest. Those two things are not the same. Sarah shrugged. Isla doesn't seem offended. I looked up. I am. Sarah blinked once. Then laughed softly. See? Honest conversation. Armin walked closer. His eyes moved briefly to me, then back to her. This conversation is finished. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Relax, cousin. I'm just getting to know our guest. She has a name. I know. Another pause. Then Sarah stood up. Well, she said lightly, I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Her eyes moved toward me again. And next time, I might be even more honest. She walked away calmly, leaving silence behind her. I exhaled slowly. That was uncomfortable, I said. Armin didn't respond immediately. Instead, he sat in the chair Sarah had just left. She shouldn't have spoken to you like that. But she did. Yes. I studied his expression. You didn't seem surprised. I wasn't. So this is normal? Family tension usually is. Am I the tension? He didn't answer right away. That silence felt like an answer anyway. I see, I said quietly. Isla. It's fine. No, it isn't. I looked at him carefully. Then why does it feel like everyone here expects me to disappear eventually? His gaze stayed steady. Because most people think this situation won't last. And you? Another pause. I don't know yet. That honesty stung more than Sarah's insults. At least you're honest, I said. I try to be. Do you think your mother made a mistake? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Armin leaned back slightly. I think my mother rarely makes decisions without a reason. That's not the same as answering the question. No, he admitted. It isn't. Silence stretched again. Then he asked quietly, why do you keep coming here? The question surprised me. You invited me. My mother invited you. Same house. That's not the same thing. I stared at the fountain for a moment, then answered honestly. Because walking away feels like quitting? And you don't like quitting? No. Even when things are uncomfortable? Especially then. Something shifted slightly in his expression. Not warmth, but curiosity. You're stubborn, he said. Yes. That could be useful. For what? We'll see. Before I could ask more, a man approached the garden. Older. Calm face. Kind eyes. Ah, he said warmly. You must be Isla. I stood up. Yes. He extended his hand. I'm Malik. I shook it. Nice to meet you. Senior HR manager, he added casually. My eyes widened slightly. You work at the company? Yes. Armin stood. I'll leave you two to talk. I watched him walk away, then turned back to Mr. Malik. You already know who I am? He smiled. Oh yes. That's concerning. Why? Because it means my reputation arrived before I did. He chuckled softly. Your reputation is quite positive. That's surprising. Not really. We both sat down. I watched the lobby footage, he said. You too? Yes. How many people saw that video? Enough. I sighed. That's embarrassing. Why? Because I didn't expect an audience. You didn't have one. Apparently I did. He shook his head. No. The difference is intention. I frowned slightly. What does that mean? Most people behave kindly when they know someone is watching. And? You didn't. I looked down at the table. I just helped someone. And that moment changed something. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. I leaned back in my chair. It doesn't feel life-changing. That's because change often starts quietly. Another pause passed. Then I asked, do you think I belong here? He studied me for a long moment. Then answered carefully. I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be. That sounds like something motivational posters say. He laughed. Maybe. But it's still true. Even if everyone else disagrees? Everyone doesn't disagree. Just most of them. Most people resist change. Am I change? Yes. I thought about Sarah's words again. You're a curiosity. You're also a threat, Mr. Malik added. That sentence made my head snap up. A threat? Yes. To who? To people who are comfortable. Why? Because your presence challenges their assumptions. About what? About who deserves opportunity. I stared at him quietly. Then whispered, I feel like I'm standing inside a room where everyone expects me to fail. Mr. Malik nodded slowly. You probably are. That honesty hit harder than comfort would have. So why stay? I asked. He leaned slightly forward. Because sometimes the room needs to see someone refuse to fail. The words stayed in the air between us. Heavy. Important. In the distance I saw Sarah again. standing on the balcony, watching me, waiting. And in that moment, I realized something. She wasn't just doubting me. She was preparing for war. I heard the chairwoman adopted a charity case. The whisper wasn't quiet enough. It was meant for me to hear. I stopped walking. Two employees stood near the glass wall outside the meeting room. They froze when they realized I had heard them. Sorry, one of them muttered quickly. But the damage was already done. Charity case. The words followed me all the way down the hallway. For a moment I almost walked out of the building. Almost. Then something inside me hardened. Because Sarah wanted me to leave. And suddenly I understood something clearly. If I walked away now, she would win without even trying. So instead I turned around. Not toward the exit. Toward the elevator. Toward the office floors. Toward the world that clearly didn't think I belonged. And quietly I made a decision. If they expected the poor girl to disappear, they were about to be disappointed. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at the small desk in my room at the Ramon house. 3 books lay open in front of me. Business management, corporate communication, strategic leadership. I stared at the pages until the words started to blur. My phone buzzed. A message. Mr. Malik. Still studying? I typed back. Trying. 3 seconds later, another message arrived. Good. Come to my office tomorrow morning. Why? If you're going to survive here, you need to understand how the company really works. I hesitated. Then replied. Thank you. The typing dots appeared again. Then stopped. Finally his message arrived. Don't thank me yet. This won't be easy. I stared at the screen. Then looked back at the books. Good. Easy wasn't what I wanted anymore. The next morning I entered the company building again. This time people noticed. Whispers moved through the hallway like quiet wind. Some curious. Some skeptical. Some openly judging. But something else had changed too. A few employees nodded politely when they passed me. Small gestures. But they mattered. When I reached Mr. Malik's office, he was already waiting. He gestured toward the chair across from him. Sit. I sat. He slid a thick folder across the desk. What's this? I asked. The company. I blinked. That seems large. It is. I opened the folder. Charts. Departments. Names. Decision chains. Budget structures. My head started spinning. You expect me to learn all this? No. Good. I expect you to understand it. That's worse. He smiled slightly. Yes. I leaned back in the chair. Why are you helping me? Because the chairwoman sees something in you. And you? I trust her judgment. That's not an answer. He leaned forward slightly. My job is to recognize potential. And ignoring yours would be irresponsible. The words settled heavily in my chest. Potential for what? I asked quietly. That depends on you. Pause. Then he added. Also, someone needs to balance Sarah. My eyes lifted. She bothers you too? She bothers everyone. I laughed softly. That's comforting. Don't celebrate yet. Why? Because she's already spreading rumors. I sighed. I figured. She says you manipulated the chairwoman. That's creative. She says you planned the entire lobby incident. That's impressive. He studied my reaction carefully. You don't seem angry. I'm tired. That's fair. Then I looked back at the folder. Fine, I said. Fine what? Teach me. His eyes sharpened slightly. You're sure? No. Then why say yes? Because the alternative is letting them define me. That answer made him smile. Good. Weeks passed. My routine changed completely. Days in the company. Evenings studying. Nights reading. Mr. Malik became my secret teacher. Start with departments, he said one afternoon. Finance controls survival. Marketing controls perception. Operations control reality. And leadership? I asked. Leadership controls everything, or nothing. What does that mean? It depends on whether people trust you. I thought about that sentence all night. Trust. Something I had never associated with power. But slowly, confidence started growing inside me. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a steady flame. One afternoon, I noticed someone watching me. Armin. He stood near the conference room door. Arms crossed. Expression unreadable. You've been busy, he said. I closed my laptop. I've been studying. I noticed. How? People talk. I winced slightly. About rumors? About improvement. That surprised me. Improvement. You ask better questions now. That's a compliment? Yes. A pause settled between us. Then he asked, "Why are you doing this?" I told you before. Remind me. I don't want to be the poor girl who got lucky. His eyes held mine for a moment. And now? Now I want to earn my place. Another pause. Then something unexpected happened. He smiled. Not fully, but enough to change the air between us. That's interesting. Interesting? Yes. Why? Because most people in this building stopped trying years ago. I leaned back slightly. Then they should be nervous. That made him laugh quietly. And for the first time, I saw genuine curiosity in his eyes. But Sarah noticed the change too. And she didn't like it. One afternoon she cornered me near the elevators. "I hear you've been playing student," she said. "I've been learning." From Malik. Yes. Her smile sharpened. "You think a few books will change who you are?" "I don't need to change who I am." "Oh really?" "Yes." "Then why are you trying so hard?" The question hung between us. Then I answered calmly. "Because people like you think I should fail." Her eyes narrowed. "You sound confident." "I'm becoming confident." She leaned closer. "Let me give you advice." "I'm listening." "No matter how much you study, you'll never belong here." For a moment the old insecurity tried to return. But something inside me refused to bend. "Maybe," I said quietly. Her smile widened. "See? Even you know it." "But belonging isn't the same as earning respect." That made her expression shift. "You think employees respect you?" "I don't know." "You should." Before she could answer, a voice spoke behind us. "She's right." We both turned. 3 employees stood nearby. One of them stepped forward. "I was there that day," he said. "In the lobby." Another nodded. "So was I." Sarah frowned. And we saw what happened." The first man looked directly at her. She didn't know anyone was watching. The second added, "That kind of kindness is rare in this building." Silence fell heavily. Sarah's smile faded slightly. "You're defending her?" she asked coldly. The first employee shrugged. "We're defending the truth." For the first time since meeting her. Sarah looked uncertain. Just for a second. But I saw it. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. I wasn't alone anymore. My kindness had already done something I didn't expect. It had built quiet support around me. Sarah looked at me again. This time with something new in her eyes. Not mockery. Not amusement. Concern. Because she understood it too. The power in the room had shifted. And it had shifted without a single fight. Which meant something even more dangerous was coming. Because people like Sarah never accept defeat quietly. "I don't care about the girl," Sarah snapped. "I care about the company." I froze in the hallway. My hand was already on the door handle of the conference room when I heard my name. "Relax," a man's voice replied calmly. "She's just a temporary distraction." Temporary distraction. My chest tightened. I wasn't supposed to hear this. But my feet refused to move. Sarah laughed softly. "You think this is about Armin? Isn't it?" "No." Her voice lowered. "Armin is the door." The man chuckled. "And the company is the room." Exactly. A cold realization slid through my mind. This wasn't jealousy. This was strategy. Sarah continued. "The chairwoman is getting older." "Careful," the man warned. "I'm being realistic," she replied. "And when leadership changes, influence matters." "And the girl?" "She complicates things." "How?" "She's making the chairwoman sentimental." The man sighed. "Kindness does that." Sarah's voice hardened. "Kindness is dangerous in business." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then the man asked, "What do you plan to do?" Sarah didn't hesitate. "Remove the problem." My breath stopped. "Careful," the man said slowly. "I always am." "And if the chairwoman protects her?" Sarah laughed again. "No one protects someone forever." My fingers tightened against the door. Then Sarah added quietly, "And once the girl is gone, Armin will focus on what actually matters. The company." "Yes." A long pause followed. Then the man said something that chilled my spine. "You're ambitious." "I'm prepared." "You always were." Their chairs scraped softly. Panic hit me. They opened the door now. I stepped back quickly. Heart pounding. I walked down the hallway before they could see me. My mind was racing. Sarah didn't just want Armin. She wanted control. And somehow, I had become a threat to that plan. That night my phone exploded. Messages, notifications, calls. I stared at the screen in confusion. Then I opened one link. My stomach dropped. A blog post. My name in the headline. Chairwoman's favorite girl exposed. From poverty to power? My hands went cold. I scrolled. Photos. Old neighborhood pictures. My uncle's house. My school records. And comments. Thousands of them. Gold digger. She planned everything. These poor girls always trap rich families. My chest tightened. The words blurred together. Then another notification appeared. A message from an unknown number. You should check your social media. I opened it. More posts. More rumors. Someone had dug into every part of my past and turned it into a weapon. My hands shook slightly. Then my phone rang. The screen showed a name I hadn't seen in weeks. Uncle. I stared at it. Then answered. What do you want? His voice came through immediately. You've been busy. Say what you called for. I saw the internet. I closed my eyes. Of course you did. People say you're living with rich people now. That's none of your business. Oh, it is. Why? Because you still have my last name. I leaned against the wall. What do you want? Money. I already knew. But I waited anyway. You've embarrassed the family, he said. You're enjoying this. Not yet. My jaw tightened. How much? He chuckled. So you admit you have money now? I asked how much. 20,000. My breath caught. That's ridiculous. Is it? Yes. Then maybe I should tell reporters about your childhood. My heart dropped. What reporters? The ones asking questions. A cold wave moved through me. You wouldn't. Watch me. What would you even tell them? The truth. My stomach twisted. Which truth? That you begged neighbors for food. That you slept in my storage room. That your parents left debts. The words hit like stones. Stop. Or maybe I'll tell them about the day you stole? I didn't steal anything. Prove it. Silence filled the call. Then he said quietly, 20,000. I don't have that. You will. And if I don't? Another pause. Then his voice turned colder. Then your past becomes public. The call ended. I stood there. Phone still in my hand. Breathing slowly. Everything was collapsing again. Just like before. Except this time. Something inside me refused to break. The next morning the company lobby buzzed with whispers. Employees stared. Some curious. Some sympathetic. Some clearly judging. Mr. Malik approached me quickly. You've seen it? Yes. Are you okay? I will be. We can shut down some of the posts. No. He blinked. What? I don't want to hide. Isla, this could damage you. It already has. Then let the legal team handle it. I shook my head. No. Why? Because if I hide now, the rumors win. He studied my face carefully. You're planning something. Yes. What? Truth. 2 hours later, I stood in the small conference room. Mr. Malik beside me. A few senior staff members watching. Even Armin stood near the back wall. My phone recorded everything. I took a breath. Then spoke. I've seen the rumors online. Silence filled the room. They're not entirely wrong. That sentence shocked everyone. Yes, I continued. I grew up poor. I met their eyes one by one. Yes, I struggled. Yes, my family had debts. But none of that is a crime. No one spoke. My parents worked hard, I said quietly. They died with dignity. My uncle gave me shelter. Even if it came with conditions. I paused. Let the words settle. Then I placed several documents on the table. School records. Scholarships. Work history. I never stole anything. My voice sharpened slightly. I studied. I worked. I survived. A long silence followed. Then I added softly. And helping someone in a wheelchair was not part of a plan. I looked at Armin. Then Mr. Malik. Then the others. It was just kindness. The room stayed quiet. Then one employee spoke. I believe her. Another nodded. So do I. The tension shifted. Slowly. But clearly. I picked up my phone. And ended the recording. Then I said the final sentence calmly. If anyone still has questions about my past, ask me directly. No one did. Later that evening I stepped outside the building. The air felt different. Lighter. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mr. Malik. You handled that perfectly. Another message appeared. Armin. Just 2 words. Interesting move. I smiled faintly. Then I looked up toward the building balcony. Sarah stood there, watching me. Her expression had changed. For the first time since we met. She didn't look amused. She looked afraid. Because the rumors hadn't destroyed me. They had exposed something else. Strength. And now Sarah understood something important. I wasn't the weak girl she expected. Which meant her next move would be far more dangerous. She's a liar. The microphone carried Sarah's voice across the entire ballroom. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned toward me. I stood in the center of the investor event, suddenly feeling the weight of 100 eyes. Sarah didn't hesitate. She fooled everyone, she continued calmly, including this company. The silence felt sharp, painful. But I didn't move. Because this was the moment she had been preparing for. The final attack. And she had chosen the perfect stage. The ballroom glittered with expensive light. Crystal chandeliers above. Investors and executives everywhere. Media cameras near the stage. The biggest company event of the year. And Sarah had just turned it into a public trial. She stepped closer to the microphone. I didn't want to say anything, she continued softly. But integrity matters. Some people shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward. Waiting. Watching. Sarah's eyes moved toward me. You claim you came here by chance. My heartbeat stayed steady. But your past tells a different story. A screen behind the stage lit up. Photos appeared. My old neighborhood. My uncle's house. Old social media posts. The room murmured quietly. Sarah looked almost sympathetic. Poverty isn't a crime, she said gently. But manipulation is. My chest tightened slightly. But my face stayed calm. She continued. This girl knew exactly what she was doing when she approached the chairwoman. More whispers spread through the room. Then Sarah delivered the sentence she had clearly rehearsed. She planned everything. A camera turned toward me. The spotlight followed. For a moment, I felt the same fear that had once controlled my life. The same helplessness. The same humiliation. But then something else surfaced inside me. Memory. The hallway conversation. Sarah's voice. Armin is the door. The company is the room. I stepped forward. The room grew quieter. Sarah smiled slightly. Like she had already won. I reached for the second microphone. Then I spoke. Are you finished? The calmness in my voice surprised even me. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Do you have something to say? Yes. Please. She stepped back slightly. Confident. I took a slow breath. Then faced the room. My name is Isla. The audience stayed silent. I grew up poor. A few people exchanged glances. My parents died early. My uncle raised me. My life was not easy. Sarah watched closely, waiting for the emotional collapse. But it didn't come. Instead I continued. And none of that has anything to do with why I'm standing here tonight. A quiet tension filled the room. I turned slightly, looking directly at Sarah. You said I planned everything. She smiled. Didn't you? No. Then explain. I nodded slowly. Of course. Then I looked toward the audience again. But first, I want to play something. The screen behind us flickered. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. Technical tricks won't change facts, she said. Maybe not. The audio started. Clear. Sure. Sarah's voice. I don't care about the girl. I care about the company. The ballroom froze. Every whisper died instantly. Sarah's face went pale. The recording continued. Armin is the door. And the company is the room. Gasps spread across the audience. The second voice joined. The board member. What do you plan to do? Sarah's voice answered coldly. Remove the problem. The recording ended. Silence exploded across the room. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just heavy. Stunned. Every eye turned toward Sarah. Her confidence cracked instantly. That recording is manipulated, she said quickly. But the damage was already done. I stepped forward again. This conversation happened 3 nights ago. I looked toward the back of the room. Security guards were already moving. Toward the board member who had been standing near the investors. His face looked drained. One guard spoke quietly to him. Then another. The man tried to protest. But the whispers had already spread. Security escorted him toward the exit. Cameras flashed. Investors murmured loudly now. Sarah's breathing changed. You're twisting context, she said sharply. No. I shook my head. I'm revealing it. She pointed at me. You secretly recorded a private conversation. Yes. That's unethical. So is conspiracy. Her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time since we met. She had no immediate response. The chairwoman stepped forward slowly. Her voice cut through the tension. Sarah. Everyone turned. The authority in that single word was undeniable. Sarah tried to recover. Aunt, this is a misunderstanding. Enough. The room fell silent again. The chairwoman looked at me briefly. Then at Sarah. I trusted you. Sarah's voice softened. You still can. No. The word landed firmly. The chairwoman turned toward the investors. This company values integrity above influence. Then she added calmly. And tonight we were reminded why. Sarah stood completely still. Her confidence had shattered. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Just quietly collapsing piece by piece. I looked at her. Not with anger. Not with triumph. Just clarity. Because the truth had already done its work. The room slowly returned to movement. People talking. Security guiding the board member outside. Media cameras capturing everything. But I didn't celebrate. I simply stood there. Breathing. For years, I believed power belonged to wealthy people. People with influence. People with connections. But standing in that ballroom, watching the truth reshape the entire room, I realized something deeper. Real power wasn't money. It wasn't status. It wasn't even control. Real power was something far simpler. Truth. Truth that refuses to hide. I exhaled slowly, and when I looked up again, Armin was watching me. Not with curiosity. Not with distance. But with something new. Respect. And somehow, that changed everything. I judged you. The words landed like a blow I hadn't been ready for. Armin's eyes, once cold and unreadable, were soft now, careful, hesitant, almost apologetic. I froze, unable to move. He had never sounded like this before. I thought, having you here would ruin everything, he continued quietly, his voice low enough that only I could hear. I stared at him. The memory of the first day we met flashed in my mind. That piercing indifference. That distance that cut deeper than anyone had ever dared. I misread everything, he admitted, almost painfully slow. I believed your presence would complicate my family. I thought it would damage the company's image. I never considered that, he paused, swallowing hard, that you could be stronger than any of us imagined. The ache inside me was immediate. Part of me wanted to forgive him instantly. The other part refused to forget the sting of every underestimated glance, every assumption he had made. Stronger? My voice trembled, but I kept it calm. Yes. He shifted slightly, guilt written on every line of his face. I see it now. What you did today, at the event, it wasn't just courage. It was integrity. Truth. Something I can't stop admiring. I wanted to look away. I wanted to turn and pretend it didn't hurt so much to hear him admit the error of his judgment. But I didn't. Because regret carries a weight that's both heavy and sharp. And why should I believe you? I asked softly, my hands clenching slightly. He exhaled slowly. Because it's the truth. I misjudged you. I underestimated you. And I'm sorry. Sorry. Just one word. But somehow it cut deeper than any insult he had thrown at me before. I remembered the way he had avoided me at the Rahman house. The polite distance. The cold precision of his words. All of it. And now, this confession. It was painful. But it was also revealing. Do you regret more than just your judgment? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. His eyes met mine squarely for the first time in months. Yes, he said quietly. I regret the moments I let doubt control me. The moments I let pride define my decisions. I should have trusted you from the start. Trusted your character. Trusted you. I wanted to forgive him. I wanted to say the word that would erase all the past mistakes. But I couldn't. Not yet. Because hearing regret is one thing. Feeling it is another. And regret alone cannot undo the cold distance. Armin, I started, then paused. He looked at me, waiting. Regret doesn't fix the past, I said finally, the words heavy with truth. His shoulders slumped slightly. I know. We stood there in silence for a long moment, the air thick between us. No words could fill it. No apology could erase it. And yet, something shifted. The first crack in the wall between us had formed. But a crack isn't a bridge. It isn't forgiveness. It isn't trust. It is, however, the beginning. The beginning of a reckoning I wasn't sure I was ready to navigate. And for the first time I saw something I hadn't expected. Armin Rahman, the man who had once dismissed me, humbled by the weight of his own error. And me still standing, still unbroken. The silence stretched. And in it I realized regret alone can't erase the past. But it can be the first step toward something far more dangerous. Something I needed to see through. Something I needed to control. Because now power wasn't just about truth. It was about knowing who you could trust. And who would pay the price if they underestimated you again. I expected you to say yes. Her words hit me like a jolt. I stopped mid-step in her private garden. The flowers, the fountain, the sunlight glinting on the marble, everything felt surreal. But it wasn't the setting that shook me. It was the weight behind her gaze. The chairwoman, the woman who had controlled every path, every decision, every expectation in this house, she expected me to comply. To nod. To smile. To say yes. And I almost did. For a fraction of a second, my old fears whispered in my mind. You owe this to them. You have nowhere else. You are nothing without this family. I clenched my fist. No. I took a deep breath. I don't want to say yes just because you expect it, I said, my voice trembling but steady. I don't want to prove my worth by becoming someone's daughter-in-law. Her eyebrows lifted. She didn't interrupt. She waited. I want to stand beside someone as an equal, I continued, the words tasting like freedom on my tongue. Not because it will fix my past, not because it will earn your approval, not because it will protect me. I want it because it's my choice. The silence stretched between us. I felt the air shift. She studied me, her eyes soft but intense, like she was seeing me fully for the first time. You have learned more than most people in my house ever do, she said finally. Her voice was quiet, almost admiring. You understand that power is not given, it is taken, it is earned, it is chosen. I nodded. Every fiber of my being was shaking. It wasn't easy. It had never been easy. The weight of every expectation, every insult, every manipulated moment, every attempt to break me, was there. And now I had the chance to break free. I looked at her and felt gratitude swell inside me. Thank you, I said. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. She smiled, a small, knowing smile. And now, she asked, her tone gentle but pointed. What do you want now? I closed my eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. I thought of my journey, the humiliation, the struggle, the silent learning, the confrontations, the moments I thought I would collapse. I thought of Armin, of Sarah, of everyone who underestimated me, doubted me, tried to control me. And I realized something terrifying. Something liberating. I didn't need anyone's approval anymore. Not my family. Not the Ramons. Not the world. I wanted my life. My choice. My rules. I want me, I said finally. Her smile widened, a mixture of surprise and respect. Then take it, she said softly. You've earned it. I felt my heart lift. For the first time, my life wasn't dictated by others. It wasn't shaped by their expectations or fears. It belonged to me. And with that realization came a calm, powerful certainty. I would no longer react to the world's decisions. I would make my own. I would stand as my own person. Equal to anyone. Stronger than anyone who doubted me. The chairwoman's garden was quiet. The sun reflected on the fountain. And I stepped forward, finally free. Not to please anyone. Not to fit into their world. But to claim my own. And for the first time, I understood the true meaning of choice. It is terrifying. It is liberating. It is everything. I smiled, not for them. Not for anyone else. For me. My life finally belonged to me. I almost gave up that day. The words escaped me before I could stop them, and I stared at the empty office chair across from me. Armin raised his eyebrows, his expression unreadable. Gave up? He asked quietly, leaning against the doorframe like he was trying not to intrude but couldn't resist. I laughed softly, bitter and warm all at once. That interview. That door. I thought it was the end of everything. He stepped inside, closing the distance slowly. His eyes weren't cold anymore. They were open, attentive, like he was measuring the weight of every word I said. I didn't know, he admitted, his voice low. I thought. You thought what? I challenged, leaning back, my arms crossed. That I'd crumble? That I'd let life decide for me? He shook his head, a small, rueful smile tugging at his lips. I was wrong. I see that now. I studied him. The same man who had once questioned my presence, who had judged my every move, now stood in my office with a humility I hadn't expected. I've changed, he said finally. Not because anyone forced me. Not because my mother wanted it. But because I see who you became. And I admire it. A tight warmth spread through my chest. You admire it? I repeated, letting a hint of disbelief slip into my voice. Yes, he said simply. And I want to ask, would you consider starting something real with me? Not as my mother's choice, not as a game, not as an expectation, but because you want it too. My mind spun. The same building that had once rejected me, that had made me feel small and powerless, now held the keys to my own creation. I had built programs for struggling job applicants, changed how people were seen and valued. My office buzzed with hope, not fear. I looked around at the papers, the plans, the team I had mentored quietly. This was my world now. And you want me to step into your life, after all of this? I asked, my voice soft but firm. After everything we've been through? I don't expect anything, he said. I only hope you'll consider me, as someone who respects what you've built. I smiled, a slow, sure smile that felt like sunlight breaking through a storm I hadn't realized I'd endured. You know, I said, standing, the girl who lost that interview, she wouldn't have believed any of this possible. Armin tilted his head, curious. And now? Now, I said, walking past my desk, holding my head high, I know that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it gave me my life. And my choice. He stepped closer, and for the first time I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel small. You're incredible, he said softly. I am, I replied, not arrogantly, not boastfully, but truthfully. And this life, it's mine. Mine to choose, mine to build, mine to protect. He smiled, a real, honest smile this time, not the cautious distance of the man I once knew. And if I asked you to walk forward with me? He said, reaching out. Not as my mother's choice, not as a favor to anyone, just, together? I hesitated. The memory of every struggle, every insult, every betrayal flickered in my mind. And then I smiled. Yes, I said. Yes, I said again, louder, firmer, as if sealing a promise I had made to myself long ago. I took his hand not because I needed anyone to save me. Not because I owed anyone anything. But because I chose to. Because I finally understood. Power, love, respect. They are meaningful only when they are earned and only when they are chosen. The office, the city, the world outside, it all felt different now. Open. Alive. Waiting. And I was ready. For everything. For myself. For the life I chose. For the girl who once stood trembling outside a closed door and realized that door was never the end. It was the beginning. And I stepped forward.